Hi and welcome to the Monday Live. Just come back from the reboot in Denham, and yeah, that's an intense event. We were doing defence. That's 6 seminars that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with the set hands. And I was impressed by the stamina of everyone because I was very tired by the end of it, and I'm still feeling a little bit tired now. But yes, getting through, obviously defence is such an intense part of the game, and so getting through 6 seminars and sets of hands, as well as playing in the evening, they all did. I tried to tell them not to play in the evening, but there you go. Yeah, it was a good event. We were well looked after, actually. So well done to Denham as well, and was pleased with it, and hopefully a little bit of extra better defence for those who went there. A lot of things going around in their mind because that's a lot of seminars, but yeah, exciting times, and obviously we're doubling a lot, hopefully. And I want emails telling me you're doubling a lot, please, because I don't want you to pretending to double. This is double annually, and it's a chance for you to double more. And I really want you to double more, please. Remember, get it wrong. Choose this month to get it wrong if you're going to get it wrong. But hopefully you will find that if you use your instincts, that doubling more will get you better scores, and hopefully, if it works well enough, or you work out when it works well or not, you then carry it on throughout the year. But I half joked that the average player needs 10 times amount of doubling. I was hoping that those who have been watching me would only need to double twice as much, because I'm trying to persuade you to double more. But yeah, you do want to have fun with doubling. It is part of the game, and I think more and more people are getting used to it. I remember 15, 20 years ago maybe, where doubling was assumed to be antisocial. Whereas now, hopefully we're familiar with it. And when I play, don't play that often now, but when I play on cruises and on some of the events, I'll never shirk from doubling, and I'll hopefully get the person to smile about being taken 3 or 4 off. So yes, we're doubling annually, and we are defending doubled contracts on the Fridays, and we're having fun, I hope, with that. It's an interesting topic. I've got some example hands on part score doubled contracts coming up this Friday, and then we're going to move on to how we defend doubled games and those aspects of hands, whether they're normal games or sacrifices and those kind of things. We'll have today the 5-level decision, which hangs over from last Friday. We'll have the bidding quiz at the end. We'll have the little seminar on wriggling, of course. That's what we're doing this year, this month, whether we like it or not. We're going to do a bit of wriggling. In terms of the program, we have a month where Bernard is in a normal pace, which will be good for me. So yes, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as usual, in the usual slots. So hopefully we can all enjoy that. In terms of the holidays, etc., well, of course, you can go on our site and see that. We've got all sorts of things where you can choose, lots of cruises, of course, and you'll be seeing lots of stuff on the holidays aboard. Some nice, both the Croatia and the Mallorca there that hopefully you can enjoy. Where am I going? Let me have a reminder to myself. I'm off to the Tenerife in March, which is full. And then we are going to Greece in October. And the cruises, I think I'm going to Scandinavia in May. And then in August, we are going around Britain. So exciting times. Yes, and the gourmet events. Don't forget the gourmet events, of course. I can see Helen reminding you of that. 2 bridges, etc. So I've got to remember what I do on these things. I was asleep about 5 minutes ago. Helen had to come and wake me up saying, oh, by the way. So here we are. This week you might have seen on, I say Friday, of course, you might have seen it on Thursday, because I did the Friday live on Thursday. So 3 spades from South, non-vulnerable your opponents there, 4 hearts from partner, 4 spades. Okay, so you've got to think about what your decision is. 3 spades from your left-hand opponent, 4 hearts from partner, 4 spades, and it's your bid. And see what you come up with there. Okay, a 5-level decision. Okay, we'll revisit that after the little seminar. And what we're going to look at now is some wriggling. Remember, this is not necessarily what I recommend. What's important though when it comes to wriggling is understanding some of the complexity that's going on with your opponents, because of course I'm looking for you to hunt down your opponents quite often. Once you've doubled them, I think all of us are very familiar with doubling one no trump. We've got more points than them, let's try and get it down. But you've got to also be aware that once you've doubled once, you don't want them to get away with it easily. Okay, so of course understanding what they're complex, you don't need to know the whole thing, because obviously the whole point about some of these wriggles is they get them wrong themselves, and that's what's quite fun. So as long as you're ready to punish them when they do get them wrong, then you shouldn't mind them wriggling. Okay, let's have a look. So let's remind ourselves of how we feel. So what do we do when one no trump gets doubled? Well, first of all, the default is your systems are off. Now, if you decide to turn them back on, so you sit with your partner and say, do you know, let's just play the same thing, you can do that. But the default is that all systems are off and everything is natural. So that's important. So if I sat down with a random player, I would expect one no trump double, 2 clubs to be clubs, 2 diamonds to be diamonds, 2 hearts to be hearts, and 2 spades to be spades. Redouble to be to play. Okay, all completely natural. Okay, that is your default system. Okay, so let's remind ourselves how we feel, because don't forget, one no trump double isn't always a bad feeling. It depends on how many points you've got. With 0 to 5, undoubtedly, you're a little bit depressed. You're expecting to go down. With 6 to 8, it's possibly 20-20, in which case, knowing where 16 of the defensive points are may help declare her to be favourite here. Now obviously you might have 6 points opposite 12, but equally you might have 8 opposite 14. You know, so you're so-so, as it were. You're in the middle, so you don't have to worry too much in that place. Okay, and as I say, because your partner might know where the points are, it might work out. Having said that, of course, the points are sitting over your partner. So one no trump double. So although you know where they are, that might not allow you to scrape home. With 9 or more points though, suddenly you become a big favourite. And of course, because you've got 9, a good proportion of your team's points are actually sitting over the 16-point hand as well. So you know, you're going to feel that you're favourite, and perhaps favourite to make an overchick or 2. So very different situations. So the question is, what do we do? Well, if you've got a 5-card suit, with 0 to 8 points, we're going to bid it. Okay, it just makes sense. You know, why gamble? Surely you're better off in a suit. With 9 or more points, though, it's not unreasonable to hope that that 5-card suit's actually going to help you make even more points. So again, one no trump double plus 2 or something, or if you're happy with a natural redouble, and I certainly am, it's one of my favourite things, a natural redouble. It means you can play in one no trump redouble, which, don't forget, that is game. And God forbid when those questions come up in your sort of scoring question of the day, one no trump redouble plus 1's a little bit more tricky than some of the other questions you might get, and you have an excuse for getting that one wrong. But hopefully those scoring questions are helping you on the site. Those of you who are on the site, the idea is you get a question a day, and it's not really to test, as it were, how long a streak you can have. It's to make sure you're practicing scoring, because most of us just press a button or look on the back of the bidding card. So it's a good thing to practice. What do we do when we do not have a 5-card suit? Well, let's put the 3 things up there. Once again, with 9 or more points, you're staying put. generally, remember, if you are a balanced hand, so you don't have a 5-card suit, then to be honest, staying put is the default. With 0 to 5 points, you can contemplate wiggling, and the reason we are doing this is not because it is good bridge, it is because it's less likely that you get doubled, because your opponents will often let you get away with it. So you may, yes, you might find a 4-4 fit, but most wriggles actually are designed to get you to find a 4-3 fit. And a 4-3 fit is not gorgeous, believe you me. You'll often go the same off as you would in 1 no trump, and that's when the suit breaks well. If the suit breaks 4-2 against you, then you may well go further off because you're 1 level higher. But the key is, do you get doubled or not? Against experienced opponents, you should be doubled. Against less experienced, they've never been taught how to double. 1 no trump double, 2 clubs, oh, I've only got 5 points, why would I want to make a bid? That kind of thing. So you can get away with it, and that is the reason why we do. So last week we looked at the simple wriggles, and those are the ones that I would recommend really. And to be honest, they're not even wriggles. I mean, they're sort of just escape systems. Wriggles tend to be the systems that allow you to find 4-3 fits and those kind of things, and that's what we'll mention today. So last week it was more exit transfers or natural, and those are probably my favourite ones. The idea of the wriggle, though, is the more complex it is, the more likely your opponents will forget to double you. Of course, the more likely you'll forget it as well, but actually if you don't get doubled, it doesn't matter. Okay? So we need to be able to show 5-card suits. That's the most important of any wriggle. It's important that I should be able to show a 5-card suit. I prefer to be able to play in 1 no trump doubled. With 6 to 8 points, I'm happy leaving 1 no trump doubled in, but I'm less happy redoubling. So if your system forces you to redouble, that is uncomfortable with sort of 6 or 7 points. And at the same time, we might make, so I don't really want to take out into a 4-3 fit. Does that make sense? So I'd prefer to be able to play in 1 no trump doubled. However, most more complicated wriggles will end up not allowing that. Okay, so a system that allows you to escape from 1 no trump in a variety of ways. That's what a wriggle is. Whereas exit transfers and natural bidding is essentially just taking out when it's right to take out. A wriggle basically says, look, let's escape even if we're 4-3-3-3, for example, or 4-4-3-2. Okay. The simple wriggle is where pass is natural, suit bids say let's escape. Okay, nothing complicated. I'm just going to bid a 4-card suit partner and let's do our best to find one. So if you've got 3 cards, so if I bid 2 clubs, I'm saying I've got 4 clubs partner. If you've got 3 clubs, just leave me there. If not, you bid your lowest suit. Does that make sense? And it's not complicated, it's not perfect either. It's not as perfect as the complicated wriggles, but obviously it might help. Okay, and clearly if you bid 2 diamonds, you're denying clubs, and hopefully you then find diamonds, hearts or spades. Okay, so your aim is to find a 4-3 fit, and redouble is I have a long suit. So here you don't have a natural redouble, and the pass is not forcing. Okay, it's a very simple wriggle. Redouble says I have a long suit, I've got a 5-card suit partner, can you bid 2 clubs and I'll show you my suit, either by passing or bidding it. And suit bids are just a way to escape. Okay, very, very simple wriggle. Not saying I recommend it, but it is. It's just saying, look, let's not play in 1 no trump doubled unless I'm happy. So probably you're passing here on 6 or more points. Okay, but with 0 to 5, you're thinking let's try and escape and hope we don't get doubled. Remember, that's the key. Most of the time we wriggle, we're just simply hoping we don't get doubled, and a lot of the time we don't. And in fact, the longer it takes for us to find a fit, the harder it seems for the opponents to double us, because they sometimes forget. With 2 4-card suits, responder bids the lower, basically. Okay, and that's the key. Okay, we're going to look at Helmick and Helvik. Well, we'll look at Helvik here. Martin, you've got a mixture of Helvik and Helmick there. Now, that might exist, and that's always the problem with all of them. Helvik, Helmick, Helvik. Now, it is possible that someone's invented Helmick, which is a mixture of Helmick and Helvik. And the problem, I've no idea why Helvik and Helmick appeared, in the sense that they sound very similar. And so a lot of people get them confused. Okay, and we're going to look at one of those now. Okay. So if you can wiggle showing 2 4-card suits, then hopefully we find a 4-3 fit somewhere. And that is what all wiggles are looking for. All wiggles are trying to find a 4-3 fit. Obviously, it's a wonderful thing if you find a 4-4 fit. Now, you may well do better than 1 no trump doubled. And that's the key. So sometimes you do find a fit. Okay. But essentially, 4-3 is what you're aiming for. And generally, any of these systems should allow you to find that. Okay. As I say, or aiming not to be doubled. If you end up in a 4-2 fit, it's a disaster, but it's not if you don't get doubled. 1 no trump doubled goes down 2 for 300. If you're in 2 diamonds, it's a silly contract. You go 4 off, undoubled. Now, it shouldn't be undoubled, but if you go 4 off undoubled, that's only 200. 4 off doubled, of course, is 800. That's another matter, and that's the key. Okay, so let's look at some examples, and I'll look at Helvik. Okay, but again, you know, I don't want you particularly to play it, but I will look at it so that you can see it. Okay, so 1 no trump double here. Let's say you're playing a simple wriggle. So here, the simple wriggle redouble says I have a long suit partner. Okay, it's alerted. Your partner has to bid. And you alert it. How do you alert it? You say, partner, you tell your opponents if they ask, or the partner who alerts it tells them that it shows a long suit, I'm going to bid 2 clubs. It forces me to bid 2 clubs. Well, say it forces, you don't actually have to. You can bid 2 diamonds if you don't like clubs, as in if you've got 5 diamonds of your own, but that's another matter. Okay, so usually it goes 2 clubs here, alerted. Remember, you're alerting the 2 club bid again because it's not natural. Does that make sense? Okay, if that makes sense. So here it then goes 2 hearts, and that would end the auction. Okay, so there's your partner's hand, a pretty horrible hand, but obviously with a 5-card suit, most of the time you want to take out. It makes sense. Okay. Okay, so here it goes 1 no trump double. So, I mean, this is the interesting one here, because really you're probably better off in 1 no trump doubled. But the point is, you have now been doubled, and so you're thinking you are going off, and most of the time you're absolutely right, you will do. And the idea is that there is a possibility that if you start bidding something else now, they may not hunt you down. Okay, so here, playing a very simple wiggle, you would just bid 2 clubs. Partner, are you happy playing in clubs, or do you want to go a bit higher? You know, partner then responds in his lowest suit if he doesn't like clubs. So if he has a doubleton club, remember, then if he's got a doubleton club, then he moves on, as it were. Okay, so we're showing the lowest of 2 suits. Okay. So it doesn't work ideally, but here in theory the bidding would go pass 2 diamonds, which is alerted saying I don't want to play in clubs. Okay, so a doubleton club, and then we rebid our hearts. Okay, do not worry about it. As I said, I don't particularly recommend this, but the idea is East is trying to find a better contract than 1 no trump doubled. And if we get lucky, we don't get doubled in 2 hearts. 2 hearts is not great. It is not a great contract. Okay, but if you don't get doubled, it's much better than 1 no trump doubled. Does that make sense? Okay, so 2 clubs says I've got 4 cards. Partner passes with 3 or more clubs. Okay, 2 diamonds then allows 2 diamonds. The point is here, Suzanne, is that we're going to play in one of East's 2 suits. Okay, this is important. We assume that the 1 no trump bidder does not have more than 1 doubleton, and that's important, of course. So clearly 4-4-3-2. There's only 1 doubleton. So once we've said we can't play in clubs, we end up in East's 2nd suit. Now, if East's 2nd suit was diamonds, remember 2 diamonds is not showing 4 diamonds. So West could have had 3 cards in diamonds here. Does that make sense? But West still bids 2 diamonds. Okay, if that makes sense. It's subtle, but the idea is partner, I do not want to play in clubs. Let's play in your other 4 card suit, because I will have at least 3 cards in it. So what do I mean? If West had 4 hearts and 4 spades here and 3 diamonds, he still would have bid 2 diamonds. Okay, and all that's saying is, okay partner, let's play in your 4 card suit. Here the 4 card suit is 2 hearts, and sometimes we will be in a 4-4 heart fit. And now it's trickier for your opponents, and that's what we're saying. And what we said as the doubling side, and we will look at the doubling side, we'll look at examples in the doubling side next week. It's so important for us to hunt them down. And so what we're looking for, particularly the passed hander, so that is South. South is looking to double. South here will put, let's say the double has 16, that means the South hand has 8. So the South hand knows that we have them massively outgunned, and South will not want to pass 2 hearts at all here. He'll want to find some kind of bid. Now, he might not be able to, but what he's thinking is, look, I know this is our hand. Remember, doubles are penalties. That's important. Once we've had 1 penalty double, subsequent doubles of penalties. And it's important for South somehow to bid something. Okay, so the more complex wriggles, and I know some of you are thinking, hold on, was that not a complex wriggle? They include a forcing pass. Okay, and this is where it gets more complicated. So if you pass, you are forcing the partner, the opener, is it, one no trump bidder, to go back to redouble. And now, of course, you've got a lot of options, don't you? You can bid, you can redouble, or you can pass yourself. So the responder, one no trump double, has 3 options: bidding a suit, passing, which is going to force a redouble, or redoubling. So because there's 3 options, you can show all sorts of things. Okay, so you either and one of the options, of course, is passing redouble, one no trump redoubled, but it does mean you cannot play in one no trump doubled. Does that make sense? And that means with 6 to 8 points, you're at a slight disadvantage. With 6 to 8 points, you're thinking, well, we might make or we might not. But if you end up in one no trump redoubled, clearly with 6 points, you're not favourites. And you don't know how many your partner's got. So with 7 points, if your partner's only got 12, you're going to look silly in one no trump redoubled. So you'd prefer to play one no trump doubled. However, you might be a gambler anyway, so you don't mind. Okay, so the redouble, your pass forces the redouble, and you're either going to pass that to play or you just show something else, depending on the system you play. Okay, so Halmick uses the pass followed by redouble to allow the rebidder to bid 2 clubs to show a 4-3-3-3 hand. Now, I know with a 4-3-3-3 hand, the last thing you want to do is play in a suit contract, but again, what you're doing is extending this auction and hopefully making it more difficult for your opponents to double you. It should not be more difficult for them to double you, because I'm going to be honest, if my opponents are showing a weak 4-3-3-3 hand in response to a one no trump bid, I am going to double them wherever they finish. Okay. However, not everybody will. And if it takes 3 rounds of the auction for us to settle in 2 diamonds, there is the possibility that your opponents have already bid, and that's all you want to happen. So one of them bids 2 hearts, you're off the hook. Does that make sense? You know, so let alone not doubling you, they might make a bid, and if they make a bid, you are happy. Okay. So Halmick, I think, is simpler than Helvig. Okay, as I say, it is possible. Martin was mentioning something called Helmick. I'm not sure that exists, but if it is, it's probably a mixture of Halmick and Helvig. Okay, Helvig is a little bit more complicated, but in theory gives you every single option, and a number of people say Helvig is simpler. I'm not going to look at them all, but essentially what they're doing is either showing touching suits or showing odd suits, if that makes sense, and hopefully the opponents alert them and they tell you what they've got. It gives them a better chance of finding a 4-4 fit. Okay, because obviously most wriggles, the simple aim is to find a 4-3 fit. But if you, for example, show 2 touching suits, well then if partner's got 4 in one and 3 in the other, can actually bid to a 4-4 fit. And if you do find, excuse me, if you do find a 4-4 fit, then you are genuinely in a better contract than probably one no trump would have been. And sometimes you'll even scrape home. So that can be worthwhile. But it only works if you remember the system. And I have to say, probably half of the time I play against opponents who are playing complicated wriggles, they get it wrong. So, you know, that's why I would suggest wrigglings aren't necessarily perfect. So let's look at an example here. One no trump, double. Let's say you're here for me, passing looks normal. Okay, I should say that. If you look at your opponent, and this is crucial, you're playing in the local club, you're playing against the local expert, he's going to hunt you down and W. You're playing against Bob, who's new to the game. He knows how to double a one no trump bid. He's got no idea what to do beyond that. So you might do a takeout bid here of 2 clubs just simply because you're not going to get doubled. And why not read your opponents? If they like doubling, be careful. If they don't, well then bid something else now and they might not double you again. Okay, so playing this wriggle, this Helvig wriggle here, pass is alerted. It forces the opener to redouble. And 2 clubs in this system simply says, partner, bid your 4-card suit, please, partner, because we'll be in a 4-3 fit. Okay. We might be in a 4-4 fit, but the point is I'm 4-3-3-3. That's what this says. Okay, and now, of course, West would bid his 4-card suit, and we do indeed finish in a 4-3 fit. It is a completely hopeless contract, and because East has told you he's got a 4-3-3-3 shape, you should be doubling this, because even if they find a 4-4 fit, the chances are it is grotesque. And as you can see here, on a bad day, if North is sitting with honour and the 10 of spades as well, you can imagine going 4 off doubled in 2 spades. But if you do not get doubled, then you are happy. Does that make sense? Okay, and that's really, I mean, so all I can say is wriggling is not particularly good bridge, but at club level it does work pretty well because you don't get doubled enough. Okay, so if you are doubler, hopefully you've listened to what I've said over the many Januaries we've had, double annuaries we've had, and you're ready to double, then you should enjoy your opponent's wriggling. Okay, because quite often, as I say, even if they're playing a complicated one and they could find their fits, they often don't forget it because it doesn't come up quite enough, and they forget how it works, and you double them and they turn out to be in a 3-2 fit, let alone a 4-4 fit, and they go for 1400 rather than 500. But as I say, if they don't get doubled, though, sometimes going 5 off undoubled is better than going 2 off doubled. Well, not quite. That's about equal, I think. Yes, it is 2 off. 2 off doubled non-vulnerable is better than 5 off undoubled non-vulnerable. There you go. 250 instead of 300. That's the nuances of the scoring for you. Just one little note on one no trump pass double, because of course it's quite subtle, it's different, isn't it? Again, your normal systems are off. Notice that East has the partner of the one no trump has passed. So now the redouble to play is less likely, because you're never going to have more than 10 points, are you? So you're going to have a few 9 or 10 point hands, but you're going to be less likely to have that redouble to play. So generally, I would really recommend here playing just either naturally or exit transfers or whatever you choose. Don't play a complicated wriggle because it's different. It's going to be different now. And if you've got 2 different wiggles, believe you me, you will get them confused. So in this scenario, I would strongly recommend just playing something relatively natural. Okay, so either natural or exit transfers, because as I say, you can still do a complicated wriggle. But goodness me, I don't recommend using up all of your memory space on playing 2 types of because remember, they've got to be different because you don't have the same scenario of a forcing pass. Does that make sense? Because if it goes one no trump pass double, pass, that's the end of the auction. So you've got less options, unless you dictate that the opening bidder has to redouble straight away. I don't know. That's up to you. I suppose you could have that. Gosh, that would be. I hadn't even thought about that. There you go. So the simple wiggle, of course, will just be a pass partner. Let's play in one no trump doubled. Suit bids say, look, let's take out. I've got a 4-card suit. And redouble would be, I've got a 5-card suit partner. Can you bid 2 clubs? Okay. So you're playing, if you're playing a simple wiggle over a one no trump double, you can play exactly the same simple wiggle over one no trump pass double. Okay, so a quick look at an example of that. So let's say you passed first, because of course you don't want to take out to a minor here, because that would be at the 3 level, remember. But once you pass and get doubled, now you do want to take out to a minor, because you can get to the 2 club level. So here playing natural, remember, you would double. Playing exit transfers, you'd redouble. Playing a wiggle, you would redouble. And that would say, partner, I've got a 5-card suit. Your partner has to bid 2 clubs, and of course you pass that out. Okay, and 2 clubs is a better contract than one no trump there. Okay, so I don't want you to worry too much about what we're talking about here, because you don't need to be playing these wiggles. Let's work out what the conclusions we have. Because one no trump comes a lot, if you're playing a weak no trump, remember, it's a strong no trump, do not worry about this at all. And that's why wiggles are much more prevalent over this side of the world. Okay, but understand, a lot of Americans, so a lot of professional players play very different systems when they play teams and pairs. So a lot of the top pairs play weak no trumps when they play pairs. It's just you never see them playing pairs, because all of the times you see them playing will be in the teams matches they play for their countries or their states or their counties or whatever it is. Okay, so they do. So you will see, I was looking up one today, Meckwell wiggle, which is Meckstroff and Rodwell, who the 2 of the top players, used to be 2 of the top American players, and they have their own wiggle. But again, that wouldn't have been playing teams. That would have been when they play pairs, when they play either a mini no trump or a weak no trump. So you'll find all sorts of possible wiggles. I did look up a few of them beforehand, just to tickle my fancy. Because a weak no trump comes on a lot, it will come up enough. So I don't mind you having some complexity, but not too much. Okay, not too much. And whatever you do, both of you have to agree to play it. Please, both of you, because otherwise it really won't work. And if you're going to have a go at a wiggle, as I say, just for fun, just to see how it works, because remember, if you play a system, it helps you understand the opponent's playing it against you, even if you don't want to play it in the long run. Whatever you do, if you're going to play one, make sure the 2 of you are up for having a bit of fun. -800 smiling. Remember that. Okay, important to smile about them. Okay, practice it at a time when you can laugh about it, okay, because they take a bit of practice. So maybe grab a few set hands and on software and things like that, you can usually set, so on Q+, for example, you can do what's called a filter. You can ask it to give you 12 to 14 points in a balanced hand, and give the next hand, let's say 16 to 18 or 16 to 17 points, and it'll select hands with those, so the auction's like, and you can select you as dealer, one no trump double, and then you can experiment with what happens afterwards. And it's a good way of practicing. Okay, and just give it time. But as I say, for me, the simplest wiggle is okay, but I'm if I sit down with a random partner, I'm playing natural. I love one no trump double, redouble to be natural, and I'm very happy just bidding 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades as 5-card suits. The exit transfers is okay as well. I will sometimes exit to 2 clubs on a 4-card suit when I feel it's right, but if you're playing against good doublers, bear in mind that you might still get doubled. Okay. And we'll have a little look of understanding the options. That's the key, as the doubling side, being ready to double again. Okay, that's enough of that. Obviously there's a lot of complications there, and some of you were thinking, what's just flown by? You don't have to know. And as I say, if as a partnership you want to experiment, go for it. If not, just try and keep it relatively simple, because once you get doubled, for the most part, having one simple system works very, very well. But as I say, if you're prepared to have a go at it, if you find that you keep on ending up in 2 diamonds undoubled -3 instead of 1 no trump doubled -2, then you'll think, okay, maybe this is worth it. You know, I know we're not in a better contract, but we're not doubled. So if you find yourself not getting doubled by the people you're playing against regularly, well then go for it. Okay. All right, let's go back to that 5-level decision. And of course, I'm sure that some of you identified this correctly, where sometimes you're not just this, I mean, a 5-level decision is probably leading you astray here. It's gone 3 spades, 4 hearts, 4 spades, and it's really important here. It's really important. The expression never preempt to preempt. West's 4-heart bid is not competing for the auction. West's 4-heart bid is a genuine bid. He is hoping that he might make 4 hearts. It is South who's made the weak bid here, and they are non-vulnerable. Now, it is possible that North has raised on a singleton spade, but most of the time you can guarantee that your opponents have a minimum of 9 spades here, which means that you can place partner with a singleton. Where are your losers here? Give your partner ace, queen, jack to 6 hearts, singleton spade. That's a 7 count. He should not be bidding on less than 13 points, really. So if he had ace, queen, jack to 7 and an ace, that's probably enough. But that's borderline. Ace, queen, jack to 7 and a king, he should probably not be bidding, and he'll get you into trouble. Okay, for me, it's as Andy's saying there, 4 no trumps is what I'm bidding. I'm not bidding at the 5 level, inverted commas. I think someone on the Friday mentioned 5 diamonds. You'd have to be comfortable with 5 diamonds. That agrees hearts. So that would definitely require partnership understanding. In this kind of auction, 4 no trumps is going to be so rarely needed as a natural bid, probably 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000 hands. You know, you've got to play 4 no trumps as Blackwood for me here. So that is what I'm going to do here. You know, and there is the chance that partner might have a void here. He shows you 2 aces. So I'm hoping not to lose. So I would just bid 6 hearts. Okay, so we've got a good heart fit, and I'm expecting partner to be short. So let's look at, we don't need to play the hand. There's partner's hand. And now given the ace, king of clubs, clearly we've got a good chance of slam even with just the ace there. Okay, if partner has the worst possible holding in diamonds, which is probably 3 small, you've still got the chance of the diamonds breaking 2-2. But if he has 2 diamonds, then hopefully you might go, you know, one of the ways of playing the contracts is to gamble on simply playing ace, king of diamonds and roughing a diamond. But you'd start by drawing trumps here. So if they let a trump, let's say you could draw 2 rounds of trumps, play ace, king of diamonds and rough a diamond. And here it turns out that the hearts break 2-2 anyway. So you've got different ways of playing it. And you'll establish those diamonds, and that's the beauty here. Of course, partner could have put down the queen of diamonds or something like that instead of the king of clubs, and now life is even easier. Okay, so you've got such potential in that hand. Those of you who count losers, remember, don't forget it's a 7 loser hand there. And your partner just bid 4 hearts. So he's bid to make 4 hearts. So he's not showing an opening hand. He's showing a hand that's got the potential of making a game. Obviously, he's allowed to place you with something. So he generally assumes partner's placing you with 7 points. Okay, now here you've got 13, 10 high card points and a singleton with a fit, and probably an extra one for the long diamonds, so 14. So 14 opposite what you're expecting from partner, what, 16 or more, isn't it? The equivalent of 16 or more. So you can see it's a comfortable slam. So don't let your opponent's preempts stop you bidding the slam. Could they have bid to 6 spades? They possibly can, although they've got a lot of losers in it. Obviously they lose 6 tricks off the top. It is, I think, a sacrifice, isn't it? Let's just quickly work that out. 6 hearts is going to make 1430, and they will give 1100 if they just go 5 off. So 6 spades is a good sacrifice, but generally in these kind of auctions, they have made our life difficult. So when you do a preempt here, you know, you've made our life difficult, and sometimes we will get it wrong and bid a slam and go 1 off. So I think probably, you know, North is hoping maybe he'll make a trick in the minors and the ace of spades. You know, as it turns out, we don't have to lose a diamond, so 6 hearts does make. But it's amazing how many sacrifices you can make if you know. Remember, you've got to know that the slam is making there. Okay, all right, let's finish with that bidding quiz. Let's do it. Same theme, I think, as last week there. 1 no trump from you, 3 diamonds from your partner, and it's your turn to bid. So 1 no trump, 3 diamonds from your partner, and it's your turn to bid. So good luck with that one. Remember, you can see the answer on the website, whether you're a member or not. And do, well, of course, do sign up and become a member. Look at the holidays if you so wish. And of course, you can see the Gazette as well, which is a sort of bridge magazine online for anybody who wants to, which, of course, gives you the opportunity just to just see a few of the old articles that we've had in the past from the Mr. Bridge magazines and all sorts of things, as well as things from our team of helpers, etc. So I hope you enjoyed that today. Sorry, I was probably a little bit sleepy, but even when I'm sleepy, I do like doubling. Okay, so we'll see some of you on Wednesday evening, Friday morning, and we'll be back here next Monday. So thanks for your company. See you again soon.